Well, good morning, everybody. What a joy it is to be here with you this morning. I just am so grateful for Sunday mornings. It gives us a time to just separate ourselves from everything that's coming on the news or happening outside and take a break from the heat. I've got the air conditioning on this morning. The two cats are taking a nap. I was saying earlier that they finally touched noses, and it's a good thing. So, I had a dream that they would touch noses sooner than day 13, but oh, the Duffies are touching noses. I saw you. Isn't that cute? Oh, you know, we all have dreams, don't we? Not the kind we have at night now. I'm not talking about those kind of dreams, but I'm talking about the dreams we have that co-create the reality, co-create our reality, and see our thoughts that come into form substance. So the dreams that we have for the future, the dreams that we have for today, for tomorrow, for the day to come, the thoughts that come through our mind that we utilize to co-create our reality with. In Australia, one of their National Disability Association says that dreams are aspirations. Aspirations are things that you would like to have happen in the future. Some might be big things and long-term and may seem impossible at that moment, while others might be smaller and seem more possible sooner. We're filled with thoughts throughout the day and night that include our dreams for our reality. Some we bring into focus, but most of them we let go. All of us have dreams. Dreams that were already created and we enjoy the memory of. Dreams we're working on, created in each present moment, and dreams we're creating for future moments. Even in this chaotic time, we all have dreams. Our dreams may have changed because we're filled with uncertainty. We don't know what things will happen, but we still have dreams. We have dreams for ourselves. We have dreams for our families. We have dreams for our friends and neighbors. We have dreams for our communities. We have dreams for our country. And we have dreams for the planet. And because we're co-creating, we have dreams for our universe. We were taught that we could dream, that this was a country that allowed us to dream. And we were taught it from a very young age. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And then we would stand up and we would honor and acknowledge that we were a country of liberty, of pride, and of freedom. How many of you remember that old song, My Country 'Tis of Thee? Remember when we sang patriotic songs? You don't hear that very much anymore. You really don't. And without the baseball games, or any other sports, when was the last time you heard the national anthem going? But my country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. Let freedom ring. Freedom, we came to this country for freedom. So we want our freedom to ring. Everybody right now wants their freedom to ring. Tanisha Harris had a dream, and she let her dream come through. Tanisha is 44 years old. She was born in Salisbury, Maryland. Her hometown right now is Roswell, Georgia. Tanisha grew up around music and joined her mom and her aunt in a traveling gospel group when she was 12. Tanisha's mother was very strict. She would only let her sing gospel music. She didn't want her singing any other kind of music. She thought that gospel music was the right thing and it would keep her on the straight and narrow path. But even though her mother was very strict with her, her father would take her on secret car rides, and together they would sing R&B. She got to get that out. Tanisha remained in that gospel group for 15 years, but after her father died, she decided to go solo and pursue R&B. Now, Tanisha originally wanted to audition for The Voice. You know that show that's on TV. Probably more of you are watching it now than have ever watched it before, because we're watching things we don't usually watch. But she wanted to audition for The Voice 8 years ago in 2012. And you know, on The Voice, they have coaches. And the coaches in 2012 were Adam Levine, Christina Aguilera, CeeLo Green, and Blake Shelton. Well, as things would happen, just as her career was about to take off, Tanisha's son was diagnosed with leukemia. And her whole world stopped. When her son was diagnosed with leukemia, she stopped singing. Her son went through treatment, came through, and is now cancer-free. And Tanisha decided that her dream was still pursuable, and she came to The Voice to make the most of her second start at music. And because Blake Shelton was still on the team on The Voice, she chose him to be her team lead and be her coach for the 2020 finalists on The Voice. Now that her son is cancer-free, she's bringing her all to The Voice, and she's in it not only to win it, but to make it big. Let's take a look at Tanisha for just a moment. Bear with me 1 second. Tanisha, I'm back, right? Thank you. Tanisha realized her dream, and she finished second in the finalists for 2020 on The Voice. And she's making it big now. You can download her albums, and you can see why she had a dream. Can you feel the energy? Can you feel the love? Can you feel what she brought forth with her from her son's experience? The time was right now. In this country, we can realize our dreams no matter who we are, because we have certain freedoms. The reason our ancestors immigrated here was because they were missing certain freedoms. They were missing freedoms such as the freedom of speech, the freedom to assemble and petition. They were missing the freedom of religion. They were missing the right to bear arms to protect themselves. And when our founders founded this country, they introduced the Bill of Rights. And in that Bill of Rights, it says that Congress cannot make any law that favors one religion over another religion, or no religion at all, or opposes any religion. Congress cannot make any law that stops you from practicing your religion as you see fit. Congress cannot make any law that keeps you from saying whatever you want, even if you are criticizing the President of the United States. Congress cannot make any law that prevents newspapers, magazines, books, movies, radio, television, or the internet from presenting any news, ideas, and opinions that they choose. And Congress cannot enact any law that stops you from meeting peacefully for a demonstration or protest to ask the government to change something. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of the Unity movement, said that this is freedom. Freedom is the quality or state of being without thought or restraint, bondage, limitation, or repression, having a complete sense of well-being. It is a result of regulating one's life according to principle, not according to what anyone else may think or say. Freedom is the quality or state of being without any thought or restraint, bondage, limitation, or repression, having a sense of complete well-being. Charles goes on to say that we can never know the full meaning of freedom until we abide in the Christ consciousness. Abide in the Christ consciousness. Oh, we're going to get religious now. No, we're not going to get religious. We're going to be on our positive path to spiritual living. We're going to reach higher, to be in that Christ consciousness as often as we can. So without prayer and spiritual meditation, there really can be no concept of spiritual freedom, and therefore there's no demonstration of it. It is gained only through spiritual development, gained in hours of communion with God in the silence, or in other words, knowing that God and I are one. Charles says that liberation from bondage comes as we seek first the perfect mind of Christ. In John 8:36, it says, "If therefore the Son shall make you ye free, you shall be free indeed." So God mind produces ideas, the Son, that we get to express in this human experience. And we can choose either right thought or error thought. So it's in that freedom of ideas, it's in that flow of ideas that comes from God mind that we can find freedom. And the more we move into love and the knowing of our goodness, the freer that we are. But Charles Fillmore also says this: freedom may lead to errors, and that's okay. The absolute freedom of the individual must be maintained at all hazards. God is the one principle. We are all free to use God as we are free to use the principle of mathematics and music. So therefore, if we're all free to use this co-creation, then freedom may lead to many errors, but since it is part of being, man must use to learn it properly. He must learn to use that the freedom of law means control and conservation, not lust and license. Thank you, Charles Fillmore. That if we're going to practice these freedoms and we're going to practice them with Christ consciousness, then having these freedoms includes control and conservation and not lust and license. So we go back then to Emily Cady. Emily Cady, one of the early teachers of truth in the late 1800s of the New Thought movement, Dr. Emily Cady. And in the chapter of her book, Lessons in Truth, the first chapter is Bondage or Liberty, which? And don't we sing it? We've sang it several Sundays so far. As a matter of fact, David Trolley, give us just a quick verse of it.
I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind I am free, I am unlimited right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now, right now.
So Emily Cady tells us in our Being Free and Being Unlimited that before we can move into the full realization of who we are, we must recognize those things that are our bondage and release them to freedom. Before we can move into the full realization of who we are, we must recognize those things that are our bondage and release them to attain freedom. You know what your bondages are. You've been facing them for a long time, and you've also probably been resisting letting them go or releasing them so you could attain freedom. It's part of this human experience. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve it. I shoulda, I coulda, if I'd only. I'm going to bring this event that I experienced 40 years ago with me, and I'm going to carry it all through my life, and it's going to hold me back, and I'm not going to release it. You know, when I was 16 years old, well, let me back up for a moment. If you looked at my high school yearbook, you know how in high school yearbooks, they have senior pictures and it says what groups you were in and what your future plans are. And if you looked at the future plans under Richard Carlini, it would say, go to college and major in dramatics. Well, I didn't do that, sort of. I mean, here I am on stage, but in any way, in high school, that was really foremost in my mind. And so one summer, I did a summer of summer theater at a theater in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania. And as an apprentice there, we would do ticket sales. We would be the stage manager, the prop manager, occasional walk-on parts. And it was wonderful. And I was enjoying it, oh, so much. I would spend my days there. It was just great. And then came two Edward Albee plays, and the apprentices had a dance at the end of one of them. Rich Carlini hadn't danced yet. Rich Carlini hadn't dreamed of dancing. Rich Carlini didn't think he could dance. Rich Carlini's hips didn't move. They just didn't move. And some of you will remember this. We were supposed to do the frug. If you remember that, that says a lot about you. Well, I couldn't frug. The frug wasn't happening. But Jody Welsh, who went to school with me in high school, she was quite the dancer. As a matter of fact, she played Daisy May in Little Abner. We were good friends. We were both into theater, and I called Jody up and said, what am I going to do here? And she said, I'll be right up. And we spent an hour having me release my hips. I had to release that fear of letting my hips go to the music. I was afraid. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't have enough confidence. I didn't think my hips were supposed to move. And after 1 hour, I released it. And was I a fruger? Let me tell you, they were asking me to frug by the time I released myself from the bondage of self. What kind of bondage do you have to let go of to be free? Now, let me also tell you, you've got to be very careful if you're a minister teaching on that subject. When I was a young minister, fresh out of school and pioneering a church in Phoenix, I did a talk on Emily Cady's The Bondage of Self. And in those days, I was creating the bulletin and everything myself. So I went to Google and I went to Google Images and I put in The Bondage of Self. And I'm not going to share with you the images that I got for the bulletin. So I learned a lesson there that there are a lot of meanings to things in the world today. And I don't think the images that came up, well, maybe they were what Emily had in mind. I don't know. in his 2015 book, and it's the 12 Freedoms, or with the subtitle, The Tetrahedron, An Understandable Path to Total Freedom, Reverend Phil Pearson uses Charles Fillmore's The 12 Powers of Man as a model for obtaining total freedom. The 12 powers, or as William Warch refers to them, our 12 gifts from God, are indeed tools that we can utilize to realize our freedom from the bondage of self. These tools, I use the 12 powers all the time, and they're so important to releasing ourselves into freedom, to release ourselves from the bondage of self, that beginning in January of next year, we're going to look at one power of the 12 powers each month. And by Christmas time next year, we'll have them all done, and we'll be able to celebrate by doing a 12 powers candle lighting ceremony for the holidays. But of the 12 powers, there are two specifically that we bring into mind when we're dreaming. When Tanisha was dreaming, she used two powers mainly to create that dream. They're the power of imagination. Imagination, that power that's located right here in the center of our forehead, between our two eyes, that third eye, that power of imagination. Imagination is that faculty of mind that images and forms. It's the power to shape and form thought. The imaging faculty presides at the nerve center between the eyes. Through this faculty, the formless takes form. With our imagination, we lay hold of ideas and we clothe them with substance. That's such a good description of imagination. With our imagination, we lay hold of ideas and clothe them with substance. And then we call on our faculty of faith, the perceiving power of mind, linked with the power to shape substance. Faith is more than mere belief. It is the very substance of that which is believed. It works by love. Thoughts of condemnation, enmity, and resistance must be released and divine love declared. Then faith will work unhindered. So we use imagination and faith to create our dreams. Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream. Around the time he wrote his famed letter from the Birmingham jail, King decided to move forward with the idea for another event that coordinated with Negro American Labor Council, the NACL founder A. Philip Randolph's plan for a jobs right march. The I Had a Dream speech delivered by Martin Luther King Jr. before a crowd of some 25,000 people at the 1963 March on Washington remains one of the most famous speeches in history. As the March on Washington drew to a close, television cameras beamed Martin Luther King's image to a national audience. He began his speech slowly, but soon showed his gifts for weaving recognizable references to the Bible, the U.S. Constitution, and other universal themes into his oratory. Around the halfway point of that speech, the gospel singer Mahalia Jackson implored him to tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream. Whether or not Dr. King heard her consciously, he soon moved away from his prepared text. It's here where Dr. King focuses on those thoughts he wants to bring into reality. It's here where Dr. King deeply knows of his power of faith, and it leads him forward without equivocation. It's here where Dr. King's imagination begins to wrap the cloth around the substance and brings forth his dream for this land of freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of justice. Thoughts 1,000 thoughts from God mind going through Dr. Martin Luther King's mind as he moves away from the main text of his speech. First, he summarizes those thoughts. You see, Dr. King has a dream. Dr. King says, I have a dream. I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. And I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. Continuing on, focusing on those thoughts, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will join the hands with the little white boys and girls as sisters and brothers. And then Dr. King moves to his faith. This is our hope. This is our faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that one day we will be free. All of us will be free one day. And finally, he imagines, this will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. Yes, our freedom is important. Our freedom is important. Fight for freedom. Affirm it. Fight for liberty. Affirm it. Fight for the pursuit of justice. Affirm it. Let your own freedom ring. Next week, Reverend Sonia is with us, and her talk is Freedom, Nothing Left to Lose. Let your freedom ring. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And now it's time to thank you, John Duffy. John Duffy's ringing a bell. I like it. Now it's time for our offering blessing, and I want to thank you all for the blessing, for the offerings that you have given us. And they come in so many ways. They come in electronically, they come in through the mail, and some of them I think are even hand delivered. So thank you for however you give. And we accept these offerings to do the work and the will of this ministry. And our offering blessing, and on the screen is how you can donate. Thank you, John. If you'd like to donate, you can send it to this address, or we've moved the donate button onto the newsletter, so you can donate right on the e-newsletter or the website. And so our offering blessing is divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. Thank you, God. Amen. And now, please join us in singing our peace song.
Let peace begin on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am that light. The love of God enfolds us. I am that love. The power of God protects us. I am that power. The presence of God watches over us. I am that presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you all. Have a great week, and let your freedom ring. And now let me unmute. Please unmute yourselves and enjoy some social time.